Hi, everybody. Welcome to my monthly hangout. Thanks to all of you folks who are here with me. Thanks to all of you folks who are watching. We were just talking about marionette TV shows like Thunderbirds. Thanks to our friend Lauren here who brought it all up to us. And I am personally of the opinion that there can't be enough marionette-based shows.
I don't know if you know this, but we've actually talked about Thunderbirds before on this hangout.
Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, I guess that's what I missed then.
Because I've never heard of Thunderbirds until you guys talked about it on this very hangout.
You are welcome, my friend.
Oh.
I first heard about Thunderbirds from Whose Line Is It Anyway, when they would always mimic them.
Oh, yeah.
Thunderbirds are go!
There was a movie with marionettes that...
Team America,
World
Police?
It was a few years ago. I can't remember the title. But
World Police? What's that thing?
Team America, World Police.
That's it.
South Park.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I caught enough of it to
I'm gonna
get a bad case of what?
That was pretty good. I mean, we talked when I did my Pierre the Chef hangout last week. You know, me and Christopher, my co-host, talked about how like our feelings about South Park have become somewhat mixed. But I mean, and I feel the same way about Team America. Like there are parts of it that are just so funny that it kills me, and then there are other parts of it that I'm like, oh come on, God, you guys are such dicks.
Well, Steve, when you go down the road of sleaze, you have to understand there are about 100 million different vectors you can take, and none of them are good.
No. But there is that scene. There are two scenes in Team America that make me laugh every
sex scene, aren't you?
Well, the sex scene, obviously, but no, it's not the sex scene. There's two scenes in Team America that make me laugh, just without fail. The first is the scene where Gary throws up in the alley for like 5 minutes straight, like he just keeps vomiting.
It's so disgusting too.
And then the other one is when he's having the argument with his love interest. I forget her name. I remember Gary's name, but I forget her name because I'm sexist. And she says, because she said, but you promised me they're breaking up, and she says, but you promised me you'd never leave.
No, I promised I would never die.
Yeah, but now I'm dead inside. And then he turns and walks away. And that's like an in-joke with me and my wife, like ever since. Like I'll just say like I'm dead inside, you know.
Nothing like purple dialogue, is there?
Oh, it's the best.
Fair warning. Do not watch the unrated version of Team America World Police. You don't need to see the unrated version. You don't need to see the unrated version of that.
The places they go in the sex scene are quite something.
Swell.
It's like the MPAA sent that version back to them and said, "You're kidding, right?"
Is that on Pornhub? I would assume so.
Everything's on Pornhub.
Everything is on Pornhub.
I'm definitely not searching right now.
Yeah, right.
I don't recommend it. Still, I don't recommend it.
Yeah, it's
Your
quite
computer
something.
handle it.
Yeah, if Brett comes back and he's breathing hard, we'll know what happened.
Yeah.
I just have to turn off the camera for unrelated reasons, guys.
We won't even. Yeah. Looks a little
Turn off the
flushed. I don't.
microphone too while you're at it.
Yeah, please, yes, please turn off the microphone as well.
No.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Oh, who is that? Does anybody else hear that?
I'm just
I'm going to mute everybody and just unmute you one at a time until I can figure out who that is.
Speaking of creepy, have you seen Sargon has been sued?
Oh yes.
I wrote a little article. I wrote a little article about it. Yeah.
Yes. Christy has. Yeah, you've written a couple articles that for Acadian Times lately.
Ironically, yeah.
Yes. Weird, right?
Right, yeah. So on Friday evening, Leonard French, I subscribe to his channel because I'm
I saw
nerd.
Leonard French too.
He read out a complaint, or a filing, I should say, in the Southern District Court of New York of a woman. I want to make sure I pronounce it right. Akia, I think, is the right pronunciation, and I will correct myself. Thank you, Akila. Thank you. Her channel, she had done an evening at a Hillary Clinton results party, and made a video about it and uploaded it to YouTube. It's one of her most viewed videos. And what Carl did was he took her video and he reduced it from like a 9-minute video to like a 1 minute 38 video. But so what he did was he took scenes from her at the beginning when she was really excited and happy, and then scenes later on when she's depressed because of the result. And he retitled it SJW reasoning
Level
or something along those lines.
SH.
Yeah, level awareness. Yeah, right. And awareness level. And put it up and monetized it. And she notified him saying, you've not transformed it. You've not put any commentary on it. It's just straight up theft. And he said it's satire. Because in his echo chamber, when you watch that.
Yeah, exactly.
Those people really have no idea what satire is.
No. It's their echo chamber. It's the filter through which they perceive things that makes it satire to them. But that doesn't mean it's satire on its face. So she filed a complaint with YouTube. They put a DMCA strike on it and took it down. And then he filed a counterclaim.
Yeah.
He filed a counterclaim to say that he had the right to use that work, and that he agreed that there was a mistake or error. He hadn't done anything wrong under penalty of perjury. He also agreed that if he lived outside the United States, the jurisdiction would be where YouTube is located, which is in the United States. So when she got that, she sued his ass.
Yeah, well, because she, fortunately, she is someone who has the resources to be able to afford to do that. Because I mean, that's one of the it's a good thing and a bad thing about YouTube's copyright system. I mean, it makes it more difficult to get videos taken down if someone files a counterclaim, but it also sort of acts as it makes it less likely that people will file false counterclaims. And what a dipshit like Carl was betting on was that she wouldn't be willing to take it to court, but she is.
Yeah, and according to Leonard, she's probably going to win.
Oh yeah, of course I don't see why you can't just people on YouTube have such funny ideas about like how copyright works. You can't really, technically, according to the YouTube terms of service, even response videos are kind of no-nos, because the terms of service say don't upload.
With the H3 verdict, it's not the case anymore.
Yeah,
there has been a judgment on that, and there's fair use and not fair use. Sargon's video of Aquila didn't fall under the fair use because it didn't add any commentary or modify the video in any way other than cutting it. And according to Leonard French, it's not a modification or a commentary. So it doesn't fall under fair use.
Just uploading edited clips without anything else, that's clearly not a transformative use.
Yeah, and Carl's done that. Yeah, Carl done that before. He did that to Destiny on his old channel, the meme manufacturer or something like that.
Yeah,
the meme media.
Yeah, and that got taken down because you can't do that.
Well,
anyways, she's suing these ass for money, and I love that.
Yeah, so the particulars are interesting because she's suing for like the profits he made, but then there are also sort of penalties for him for doing it. So she can claim up to $30,000 per violation. Yeah, because he uploaded it to YouTube, Twitter, and Minds. And that's at least 3 that I know of.
God, I hope she cleans him out.
And
we're
because
in the money.
Yeah. And because he uploaded the Twitter clip and the Minds clip after he received the copyright strike. In fact, in his Minds posting, he referenced it being copyright striked off of YouTube. That's willful posting, and then she can claim she can ask for up to 150 per violation, 150,000.
I hope
she's looking between 90 and 400,000, just that we know of. Before attorney's fees and stuff like that.
How glorious is this?
I know. I hope she wins, and I hope she cleans him out, and I hope he
wins his mom in the lawsuit.
I hope there's a picture of him on the front page of like The Guardian or something, sleeping in a cardboard box under a bridge. I have
right next to Donald Trump, maybe.
Right
Well,
next to Donald Trump, exactly. I have no sympathy for him whatsoever.
Do you want some more Sargon Goss then? Because
Please. Oh, please, let's fuck it. Who cares? Let's go for it.
Well, last night someone gave me a link to a video he just put up. And in it, so part of the case is because it's tried in the United States, if she wins, she can garnish his wages. And YouTube being based in the United States and Patreon being located in San Francisco mean that she's going to get paid.
Oh.
She's going to get paid.
Oh.
So Carl has sort of twigged to this over the weekend, and he put up a video. It's a rambling video, and I highly recommend everybody watch it for its incoherence. But he's looking for ways to make money in the UK. And he had this sort of meetup where 100 people showed up to hang out with him. That's where they went to the playground and put the Kekistani flag up on the
thing, yeah, on the jungle.
I think that was the hangout, right? That's what they're like when they get together.
Yeah.
And he said, oh, well, maybe I can just do live meetups. And, you know, we can all get together and you guys can pay me and I'll show up and we can talk. It's going to be a live stream, but in person.
You can pay me for the privilege of me hanging out with you.
It's the Church of Sargon.
Yeah.
You know, he wants to rent a hall out where he sits at a table with water and snacks and people just pay to come and ask him questions and listen to him pontificate his opinions on things.
Water and snacks is the thing.
Somebody doesn't have an eagle roughly the size of Big Ben, do they?
Oh, wait. Oh, wait, because it gets better.
Oh, boy. There's more.
You know, he wants to, you know, really sort of do things outside of YouTube now. And so maybe, you know, they could get a manifesto together, but Carl wouldn't write it. He would outsource his manifesto to other people so that they could do the work of thinking for him. And then he'll just take their ideas and put it together and call it their manifesto.
Hey, Friedrich, this is a lot of work. What do you think? We gave this to someone else?
So please go watch it. It's hilarious.
That guy has no shame. It's amazing.
No.
Maybe they could hire the same guy who penned Donald Trump's Art of the Deal.
Oh, yeah.
And then get scrapped in the same fashion.
Yeah, exactly.
Honestly, he should take the same advice you guys gave me and turn off the camera when he's jerking himself off.
That's what they should all do, man. That's all of those like anti-feminist types. This is what amuses me the most about them is like, well, first of all, it's always incredibly fun to watch a horrible person self-destruct in front of your eyes when they totally deserve it. And that's exactly what is happening with Sargon. But they can't, it's like they do this in public. Like they choose to make videos where they lose their shit in front of everybody. Like what? Who does that? Just
It's a women's march party.
I mean, just keep your shit together.
There's a picture of him at the Nazi rally. I saw a picture of him at the Nazi rally at Charlottesville.
Yeah. Like just have your...
He's a Nazi. Own it, shitbag. I hate that.
Yeah,
I mean, shitbag and own it.
Well, and if you are a public shitbag and everybody knows it, and then you start to suffer because of it, I mean, of course, hey, you know, I'm sure it's got to suck when everybody finds out what a piece of shit you are, and you start to have your way of life threatened because of it. You know, I'm sure that's a little taxing emotionally, but like have the freak out in private. You know what I mean? Like this idea that they turn the camera on. And because their gimmick is that they're rational and they're unemotional, right? They're like they're these
so rational.
They're these
they lose their shit every time a woman says something.
Yeah, Steve, they're rational and emotional, or should I say they're rational and reasonable on the surface. What happens when you scratch that surface? You get a seething knot of emotions that wants support and validation.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. But
no, except when you act like he does.
When you think about it, somebody came up with white rationalists to describe them, which I think is the most beautiful thing ever. Instead of white nationalists, they're white rationalists. That
was somebody.
Made that up.
That was someone on my Twitter feed.
Yeah, somebody.
I could look at it.
Yeah.
And then I made a meme into it today on Twitter. So yeah, it took one of those the rationalist memes and just put the white rationalist. It's a meme of a meme.
It's so beautiful. Yeah. So yeah, that's some good Schadenfreude. Yeah. it's, you got to take what you can get. You know what I mean? Like when Trump is waiting until the hurricane is right off the coast to pardon the fucking, you know, racist sheriff
Arpaio.
Arpaio, and sign the trans military ban, and he's like, oh, and by the way, there's a hurricane. Bye everybody, have a good weekend. You know, you got to take what you can get.
I saw there was a guy who was effectively a Trump apologist this morning on This Week. And, you know, he's trying to justify the, you know, the from both sides business. And, and he got scrapped from 3 different directions, at least, including George Stephanopoulos. I mean, these guys, the thing is, these guys, you know, they're very much like Christian apologists because A, they can't cop a clue, and B, they cannot admit that they're wrong. Not at all.
Yeah. Yeah. They can't admit that they backed the wrong horse and that it's time to jump off. You know, like it's way, way past time to jump off.
And their arguments are usually self-defeating.
Yeah. Well, and you know what really shows the game, what really reveals it is because they kind of can make it seem like they have a point if the counter protesters Gesundheit. If the counter protesters get violent, I mean, I still don't think there's any equivalent between counter protesters and white supremacists or Nazis, but you can they could at least, well, there was violence on both sides, right? But even when there's a total just peaceful protest, right? Or a massive peaceful protest, or maybe just a few scattered incidents here and there, like in Boston, where there's like 50,000 protesters and like 100 fucking white supremacists huddled under a pavilion.
That was glorious.
It was beautiful. But the people still had a problem with that. So clearly it's not the violence that they're objecting to. It's the fact that all these people are coming out and saying, you know, fuck off with you Nazis. Like that's what they're upset about. And it boggles my mind that anybody who is not just completely sympathetic with those people and their views would have a problem with other people coming out to oppose them and saying, no, get out of here. Like what?
Yeah. You know that Nazi thing from France is very, very weird because, you know, we have actually been invaded by the Nazis. There are people still alive who were in concentration camps, who fought the Nazis, who were in the resistance. So here we have pretty strict laws about hate speech.
Yeah.
And because I read often people who say, yeah, Nazis should be free speech, but I don't feel like my country is censoring people, but it's illegal to deny the Holocaust, to talk like a Nazi. If you do, you will be fined big time.
Yeah.
You won't go to jail, but you will be fined. And I think it's a good thing, but maybe because I've always lived with this law, but I don't know, that whole debate in the US from here is very weird.
It is weird.
Yeah.
I mean, some people I think some people just have a problem with like protests in general. Like when you think about like the NFL players that are not standing for the standing ovation, because why should they with the events that are happening in this country? And people get all butthurt up like, why is Colin Kaepernick taking a knee during the standing ovation? Why is this player taking a knee during the standing ovation? It's like,
I think you mean during the playing of the national anthem.
National anthem, yes. My apologies. Not Pledge of Allegiance. That's in school.
or the standing ovation, whatever that's.
Is that it?
Now, here's the thing too, and I'm amazed how little notice this got, because there were a number of players, not yesterday, but the last time the Cleveland Browns played, who were kneeling as a group.
Yeah.
During the playing of the national anthem.
Yeah,
and
we heard
it got some notice, but I mean the thing is, Colin Kaepernick is still the one catching all the flack, mostly of course because he's the first one who did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like
and
like you were
black.
saying. Yeah.
Well,
and it's proof that no matter what kind of protest people make, whether it's a violent protest, which I don't agree with, whether it's a silent protest, you know, just maybe 100 people out on the street, or it's just something as simple as taking a knee during the national anthem, they hate all protests and they want to cut down on
Yeah.
protests. And even Trump wants to cut down on protests because his team did whatever during his Phoenix speech, and we're gassing the crowds outside.
Yeah. Well, and the most curious part of that whole business in Phoenix is the fact that Trump was losing the crowd towards the end. I think that just by itself, I think, is precious.
Yeah, I read that too, that they were walking out on him the longer the speech went. Well, I mean, when you decide to go to a Donald Trump rally and then halfway through you're like, no, this isn't for me. I mean, like, you decided to go.
Just like how in Boston there was like 300 free speech protesters and then like 30,000 counter protesters. That cancels a lot of free speech protests across the country.
Yes.
So like
and the same thing happened in San Francisco. I think they had like a handful for that. What was it? That Patriot Prayer or whatever it was they were going to have.
Yes.
And 1,000 counter protesters showed up. I mean, is anybody
beautiful.
learning anything from all of this? Could it be possibly? I don't know.
Exactly. It doesn't need to come to violence. It shouldn't come to violence, but you need to stand against them. You need to oppose them. You need to let them know that there are more of you.
Yeah, I just wish that same effect would happen for like Trump rallies. There's more people protesting the Trump rallies than there are Trump rallies. Maybe Trump will finally learn, but who knows?
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, Trump needs to be reinforced constantly because the guy's, got an ego about as fragile as somebody with that broken bone disease.
Yeah.
And
like Mr. Glass. And
exactly. I mean.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and the thing about it too is that I know I've said this before. Like, if Trump wasn't so evil, it would be sad. Like, it would be pathetic because he tells these lies. Like he said for the Phoenix rally, I think he said that there were 15,000 people there. The building he was in only holds 4,000 people.
God, 5.
You
can check this. Like, anybody can figure this out.
Marine Le Pen has done the same during the French elections.
Yeah, it's like, why would you lie about this?
Because it's what he does.
The weather was wonderful.
I mean, Trump lies like most people breathe. I mean, let's be real about that.
Oh, absolutely. I don't think it even occurs to him not to. But I mean, at least because I'm a pro wrestling fan. Pro wrestling, like WWE inflates its crowd numbers all the time. You know what I mean? Like WrestleMania, like 2 years ago, they said there were 100,000 people. There weren't 100,000 people there, but they said there were, and they made up a number like 101,720. It's just a fictional number, but at least it sounds reasonable. They didn't do a show in a 10,000 seat arena and then say there were 100,000 people there. They did it in a place where you could believe it. I mean, Trump is doing, 4,000 is nothing to be ashamed of. I don't even think there were 4,000 people there because I don't think the arena was even close to full. But, it's nothing to be ashamed of if you draw a crowd of a couple thousand people. But to then not only exaggerate, but exaggerate in a way that can't possibly be true. And I mean, people have phones. Like, they can be like, I wonder how many seats are in this fucking thing. You know?
That man seems very, very fragile.
Yeah. Well, because you hear those reports that like his assistants have to give him positive news about himself every couple hours. Like, he receives these little dossiers of like,
can we get the assistants to stop?
Yeah.
Just
or write the names in the reports like every a couple paragraphs so that he can actually read the Trump. The Trump.
And on top of that, why do you suppose that he's talking about creating Trump TV so he can watch it? I mean, nobody else can watch it.
That's perfect.
But it'll give him something to watch and masturbate to, and he'll love it.
Yeah. Well, I think Trump TV is what he actually.
I don't need that mental image.
Lito, my apologies for that, but the blunt end of the stick is it is what he will do.
That got his tiny hands scrabbling at it.
Brett is just killing it on the unwanted mental images thing.
I think a foreign head of state needs to give him a solid gold butt plug as a gift.
Here you go, Mr. Trump.
Careful, he's going to have all of you.
Hey, I know where you can get one of those too. Rosebuds.net.
think you're gonna have to put a content warning for disturbing mental
Just
images.
off the top of your head there.
Oh,
Lord, I mean-
1600 Pennsylvania Avenue is the address if anybody wants to send in one.
Oh. You're giving the internet ideas.
Good idea.
No, people will do that. You know that.
It would be awesome if, like, 100,000 people
Piles of butt
started sending him butt plugs.
He would think it. He would think it's like a
Next
miniature
protest, people
Christmas
just start
tree or
throwing butt
something.
plugs over the fence.
I wouldn't because shipping costs. It's not worth it. I mean, but
It's not worth it. Yeah.
I wish I could.
Send him a bag in. It'll stale by the time it gets here, and it'll function in the same way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Speaking of the butt plugs over the fence, I presume you guys heard about that one event where the protesters prepared the area for the guys coming in by spreading dog poo all over the place. Oh,
yeah,
I
yeah,
have not
baby.
heard of
San
this.
Francisco.
I don't know. I don't remember a location. I just remember, hearing about, apparently they picked up a bunch of dog poo and they just put it where it was, just inconvenience the idiot children the most.
Those people are just as bad as Nazis. Spreading dog feces all over. That's disgusting.
They
That's
should
at least
put
as
them-
disgusting as genocide.
Yeah.
People don't know what to do with dog feces. You put it in a bag and light that bag on fire, and that's someone's doorstep.
That's what you're supposed to
1600
do.
Pennsylvania Avenue.
That's what we did back in my day. For
That's
all
what
these foreigners
Bill
took over.
do.
Yeah, burning dog poo is just as bad as burning crosses.
Yeah, exactly.
Or burning
Well,
clothes.
I will say this: burning dog poo smells a hell of a lot worse.
I don't think we should burn anything. That's just my opinion. I see the argument from both sides.
Campfires are basically concentration camps. We all know this.
Yeah, everybody knows this.
Yeah.
We're just saying what people think but are afraid to say.
Fire is evil. We should put everything with the sun or something.
Fire has been nothing but a bane to humanity ever since we came up with
Fire
it.
is not organic.
Fire. It pollutes the atmosphere. It puts soot into the air.
Wait. Fire is not organic.
Nope. It's GMO sunlight.
It seems to me that most things that burn are organic. I mean, check me on this. I'm just an engineer here, but
You could make inorganic fire. Things that aren't
well,
organic
yes,
can
you
still
can.
burn.
I mean, you can burn magnesium. Magnesium burns like freaking Topsy, and it's not organic.
Fake news.
But how could fire be a chemical process if it wasn't chemicals?
Exactly.
Ooh, chemicals!
Finally,
Evil
somebody
chemicals.
talking some sense.
Sense? Why do you want to talk sense?
Steve, it's too late, man.
We're trying to get through to Trump voters. You can't talk sense.
Stop talking sense. No, somebody already used that.
We need to. Yeah. Did anybody read? Joe Biden published a piece. I think it was on the Atlantic today. So I don't know if any of you have had a chance to read it, but it is fantastic. About basically about Trump and endorsing white supremacy and how we've been here before. Like we've never had a president openly endorse white supremacy before, but these well, it's been a while.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
I posted 6 hours ago.
Those Joe Biden memes have ruined him for me. The ones with Obama.
Yes.
They were so glorious, and every time I saw Joe Biden, I can't. It's too funny.
The Onion had a really great running joke with Biden as well, where they would put up these fake stories about Joe Biden, like operating a car wash out of the White House or selling T-shirts out of a box outside of Obama speeches. Like he was just like this street hustler type guy, was always trying to make a buck on the side, and it was so funny.
I loved the memes. Yeah, toward the end of the election.
Yeah. I put a copy of your Kenyan birth certificate on his desk.
Yeah, those memes were.
Yeah.
Really,
That's pot brownies.
Boy,
I don't know who made the
just
first, but thank you, person who made that first memes about Joe Biden in the White House and the pranks.
You know, for all the memes and everything else, though, Biden had a sense of the home guy that I don't think you could trade for anything. And I mean, the very fact that as a senator, he used to commute, for crying out loud.
Oh, and, you know, every day, or every weekend.
Yeah.
To what?
And I mean, I always admired that about him, and the fact that he just seemed to be utterly no bullshit.
Yeah.
And
what's commute? What is it?
He would travel.
What was it, from Delaware, wasn't it?
Yeah, he would.
Amtrak from Union Station.
From
I think he took the light rail or something.
Yeah,
it's Amtrak.
Yeah, the Joe Biden special.
I have no idea what Lauren talked about.
He would travel from his district of Delaware on the train to Washington D.C. to do his job. Every weekend, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most senators.
He was very much a family man, and that was as important to him as his job.
Yeah.
Okay.
Remember when?
And he just seemed like
What kind of loser does that?
And he was he was the first member of the Obama administration to come out in support of same-sex marriage.
He was, and in a lot of ways, he moved Obama in that direction. Yeah. I mean, in fact, he was probably the primary force that started things, because up until that time, I mean, there had been something like 31 different state elections or issues on ballots, and they all went down to defeat. And then, now they had a couple of wins in the courts, but things were pretty idle. You know, they weren't, there wasn't any particular trend. And I can't say that Biden absolutely was the turning point, but he certainly was a catalyst.
Yeah. He's been a role model in a lot of ways for the Democrats. I mean, and he talks about working class issues, which is something Democrats don't do very well generally, or don't do as often as they should.
Don't do at all.
Don't do it all. Yeah. I mean, it's can you, instead of just assuming that people who are in support of labor unions are going to vote for you, maybe give them something to vote for. Maybe take
Democrats looks a little bourgeois.
Yeah,
there's a lot of hubris in them. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Like the working class message is one of the most dispiriting things, because the Republicans have sort of taken that over, when it's their policies that crush the working class.
Yeah.
And the Democrats are traditionally the party of labor unions and higher wages, and but they've sort of just curled up.
It's kind of the same in France. There's a lot of people from the working class who voted for Marine Le Pen. And she's a fucking aristocrat. Okay,
she's an aristocrat who hates brown people, so she's relatable.
Exactly.
You could have a bottle of wine with her.
Yeah, I don't think everyone who voted for her was racist. It's more Macron is a bunker. A lot of people don't want a bunker.
But really, when you vote for a
is that too?
Is there any difference?
Is that too?
Brett,
very much so.
Yeah.
Destroying the labor code. 50 years of social progress is being destroyed by Macron.
Yeah.
But it's less worse than in the US, so.
Oh, the US right now.
Yeah, we're not. I mean, it's a really like disorienting time, because it's like every day you hear more about, the investigation against Trump is ramping up, and they're issuing subpoenas, and they're close to, issuing a finding, or there's going to be indictments, or now they're investigating so-and-so. And it just feels like, because you keep hearing like, oh, any day now, and it never quite, it hasn't gotten here yet. So you're like, okay, come on, like, look at all the shit he's doing. We got,
it's almost like, wake me up until he's impeached or resigned, something like that.
Yeah.
Please wake me up when that happens.
Well, part of it, I think, is the media over anticipating, Mueller's process. And
yeah,
I mean, my impression, I'm not going to tell you that I know a whole lot about Robert Mueller because I don't. But the blunt end of the stick is he leaves me with the impression of being a guy who is quiet and thorough. And so, I mean, he's going to do his thing, and he's not going to publish a whole lot until he's ready to publish. When he's ready to publish, return your seat backs and tray tables to the full upright and locked position, and make sure your seatbelt's fastened, because the shit will hit the fan in a big hurry. I mean, he's not going to do anything half-assed, and he can't afford to do anything half-assed. Not considering the importance of what he's doing.
And because investigating anything that his investigation leads him to, so he can just keep on investigating everything that makes Trump an evil person. And he has a lot of work ahead of him.
I mean, we look at the current environment, and I mean, Trump's doing, not just a stupid thing a week, but stupid things per day. Meanwhile, here's Mueller in his office, delegating these tasks. Okay, let's look into this, let's look into that, let's dig in, and rather than just be a snapshot, instant gratification. And I think that's a large portion of what we're talking about here. He is digging. He's being thorough. He's being patient and taking his time, because he wants his I's dotted and his T's crossed. I realize I'm throwing out a lot of cliches here, but they're operant cliches.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I do hope that when he comes back with something, he's like, "All right, you ready for this?" And then it's just it's just a wasteland after that. But I mean, and you're right. Back I don't remember Watergate. I wasn't alive, but back then there wasn't a 24-hour news cycle. There wasn't the internet. There wasn't people constantly like, oh, they found this, and now they're talking about this, and now they're talking to this guy. I mean, there was major newspapers and 3 TV networks, and you got the news for an hour a day in the evening, and that was it. And now it's like every little moment is being dissected.
And I'll tell you something, Steve. Back then, you had Nixon firing what's his name? God, I can't even think of his name now. And that was one of the major things that tipped things off. Here's something to keep in mind. That was 40 plus years ago. And there's so much water under the dam these days. There's so much that's happened since then that I really honestly think that a lot of us, and maybe some of us older people, although I'd like to think I'm not one of them, have just been so desensitized that it takes a Trump and his constant 24-hour craziness. And when you're inured to that, I mean, it's nightmarish. And what it takes to overcome, that sense of ennui, I don't know. I really, I would have hoped that by now, especially now that, of course, Trump is sniping at McConnell.
Yeah.
I mean, you would think that would wake people up, but even that hasn't done anything.
No. Well, that's one of the things that
not done anything yet.
Yeah. I mean, well, and the thing is that again, I guess it just shows how short-sighted people are, and how people are just unable to look beyond their present circumstance to the future. I mean, if you're a Republican, especially if you're an elected Republican politician, and you want your political party to continue to be, viable and in a position to win elections,
credible.
Yeah, I mean, how can you not disown Trump? Now, you should have disowned him from the beginning, but especially after all of this, how can you not like?
Have you seen Mitt Romney's tweets?
No.
No. Trump makes Mitt Romney of all look revolutionary.
Yeah, I know.
It's amazing.
It's incredible. Mitt Romney did what, especially when he tweeted after Charlottesville, I was like, God damn, Mitt Romney is saying exactly what the president should be saying.
Oh yeah.
Because it's like, how hard is it to say, I renounce white supremacy, I denounce neo-Nazis, I don't want.
Schwarzenegger has done a video too, is amazing. I don't know if you have seen it.
No.
It's on YouTube. If you look for Schwarzenegger, Charlottesville, he's made a really, really good video, because he was born in Austria, so he just after World War II, so he remembers the Nazis.
Yeah.
And that video was pretty cool.
Yeah,
way too liberal for my taste, but why is he a Republican?
I have no idea. He's been
why is
so
further away? Money. But yeah, mostly because it's convenient for him.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a convenient target, and on top of which I doubt I would like to believe the Democrats would have nothing to do with him. Although if the Democrats were in the kind of straits that the Republicans were 2 years ago, they might have resorted to him.
Yeah.
But
I think
that's a shame because he's really a good man, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I like a lot of I like a lot of what he said lately, you know, in response to Trump, you know, but again, a lot of that is just basic like human decency.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, why isn't anybody just saying that this guy is doing awful things and he's a bad person and we should be trying to stop him from doing these awful, terrible things, you know?
Stop
actually,
making Americans look bad, for fuck's sake.
Well, and you know, at the American Atheist conference last week, I wasn't there, but I read the transcript of David Silverman's talk, and David Silverman did a better job than the president has done, because he said in I think this was like the opening remarks of the conference, and he said, you know,
I don't know who that is.
He's the leader of the American Atheists organization, and he's a fairly prominent atheist spokesperson here in the U.S.
Is he a shitlord like Dawkins or not?
No, not. I mean, I don't agree with everything he says, but for overall, I think he's a good guy.
Okay.
And I like him, and he said at the opening of the American Atheist Conference, I know that there are a lot of atheists, or I know that there are there are white supremacists who are atheists, and I just want to tell you, we don't want you here. We don't support you. We don't want your money. We don't want your support. You know, we renounce you. And I mean, why? Like, why should I even feel like I need to applaud for that? Like, that should just be basic human decency. Like, of course, that's what you should say. We don't want you here. You don't belong here. We're not going to support you. We're not going to open the door for you and invite you in. Get out of here. You know, but so many people are reluctant to say that.
But especially atheists, I have. That's why I linked your video on the anarchist memes page.
The Facebook
because,
group.
Yeah, we have a lot of atheists, and they're kind of socialists. I don't like that. They're Dawkins fans and that kind of things, and I don't want them to all the youngest. I don't want them to become all Sargons.
You got to catch them early, right? Yeah.
Anarchists are complicated.
Oh yeah, no, I know.
Men, I mean men. Women are less complicated, but anarchist men's. Oh.
Yeah, I can't escape the feeling that anarchists really haven't thought it through.
There's a lot of thinking, but a lot of young men just see the appeal of the freedom. They haven't read Kropotkin or Bakunin or the main anarchist thinkers or theory. They're just I don't like the state. I'm anarchist.
Yeah. I don't like paying my taxes. Let's destroy the whole government.
Exactly.
No, that's not libertarian. Anarchists aren't against taxes.
I'll tell you what. There was a guy back in the 70s. I worked for this independent film and video outfit, and once upon a time we were doing a piece on. I don't know if anybody here is into jazz, but Eric Kloss. We did a piece on him. He's a blind saxophonist, wonderful musician, and we talked about how he saw jazz, and I thought he put it in incredibly succinct and beautiful terms. He says, jazz is structure and freedom and structure. And I mean, how many different places is that applicable? And I think especially as it comes to human conduct and also in government. I mean, there has to be a degree of freedom because, I mean, we have a country, which I hope is at least somewhat based in freedom, but there also has to be some structure, and there has to be a balance between the two. You can't be, it can't be utterly laissez-faire, and it can't be regulated up the kazoo. Somebody here a couple of hangouts ago, mentioned something about, if you go one way or the other, you don't get any, you don't get any production. You don't, nothing happens of a constructive nature. But the problem is you have to find that balance, and the problem is for that balance, to use your own words, Steve, you need nuance.
Yeah. Well, and I think about that a lot, because I freely admit, like, I don't have strong opinions on anarchism as a philosophy, because I haven't read that much about it. I have friends who are anarchists and are people that I respect and agree with on a lot of things, but I don't have a clearly formed opinion of it. But what you were just saying, Lauren, I think about that a lot when we talk about about the free speech debate. And I think the reason that a lot of people try to say, well, we should be free speech absolutists and just don't have any regulation of any kind, government or otherwise, where they say everybody should be allowed to speak, whenever they want. They say that because that's easy, that you don't have to do anything. You don't have to exercise any judgment. You don't have to find the balance. And the truth is, if you want an environment where where the largest number of people are free to speak their minds, then you do have to strike that balance between freedom and structure.
And for structure, also throw in the word discipline.
Yeah.
And the thing is, discipline in this day and age, I think, has really unfortunately become a dirty word.
And so has craft. If you look at popular people who make videos on YouTube, and there's no craft to them whatsoever.
Really?
That's to bring it back to people who don't understand satire, and they're like, oh, you shouldn't be mad at that. That was just satire. Like, satire requires craft.
Yeah,
you have no craft
to punch up, not down.
Yes. And you need to have a point that you're trying to make. You need to be satirizing something, and and discipline is a big part of it. And you need. It's hard. It's difficult. It takes work. You can't just declare a principle.
It's the point that we try to convey. For a society, a horizontal society to work, you have to be disciplined to decide laws and rules, and it's important. It's just anarchists want to do that horizontally, like everyone decides, not just some people on top.
And plus, it's just a constant work.
Hierarchy.
And plus, it's a work in progress. It's a constant work in progress.
Yeah. Has anybody here read Robert Heinlein's novel, The Moon is a Harsh Mistress?
No. I saw the moon covered the sun.
Well, aren't you special? Seriously, there was a character in that story. Basically, The Moon is a Harsh Mistress is a story which takes 1776 in America and transplants it to the moon in 2076. And basically, you have a handyman, a well-read professor, and a firebrand who start out and they attempt to foment a revolution. One of those characters is a guy by the name of Bernardo de la Paz, and he describes himself as a rational anarchist, which I thought was interesting because he absolutely insists that he's responsible for his own actions and he doesn't answer to anyone else. But he also understands the implication of that. The problem, of course, is if rational anarchism has got to work, everybody's got to be a rational anarchist. If you've got so much as one dissenter, you're screwed.
But like John said, it's more of a work in progress. I mean, I'm an anarchist, but I know I will never see an anarchist society. I'm almost 40. If it happens one day, it will be in a long time. But that doesn't prevent me from advocating that kind of thing. Destroy all social hierarchies. It means the state too. And I don't know, it's something that I think it's important, but I'm not going to give shit to people who don't think like me. It's mine.
Yeah, the thing I wonder about with anarchism and with libertarianism, what I wonder is how do you genuinely organize and get
please don't bunch libertarians with anarchists
to cohere. I mean, do anarchists build roads? Do anarchists, form
we need road
necessary, necessary utilities and other mechanisms to allow a community to work, or does it all devolve down to the kind of things that Isaac Asimov proposed? Again, for if anybody who saw or listened to or read, I should say, the robot novels where they have this one planet Solaria where everybody literally has their own huge estate on a planet, and there's practically no direct interaction between people at all. It was, it's
well, I think that's sort of the big separation for people like me and for like you, Lauren, when we sort of encounter like an anarchist philosophy, is that the society that's being proposed is in many ways so different from the one that the only one that we've ever experienced, that it's difficult to see like how you get there. Not only how would it work, but like how do you even get there? I think that's kind of
if you had the chance to grow up in a hippie commune when you were a kid, you have an idea. It can only work on small scales. I think little communes with people who have different skills. And because we can't all do everything, there are people with disabilities, there are people who know how to make certain things, people who don't know how to make certain things. Everyone is full in their own way. Everyone knows how to make something. And if we need a road,
if everybody's contributing, then aren't you talking about a certain degree of communism there?
Totally. Anarchism is communism.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, when you talk about it in small scales, I guess it does make a lot more sense.
Yeah, I don't think it can work on a big scale because it needs communication between people.
It also needs equity between people, and there's way too much of a temptation for somebody to try to become the big cheese and Joseph Stalin.
Yes.
The thing is to me, like, anarchy kind of sounds like the political quantum mechanics, basically. Like, it works in a very small scale, apparently, and people can describe to me how it works, and I just go, that doesn't sound like it makes sense. Like, it sounds like that shouldn't be how it works, and you can, like, I feel like I have to study up on this, and even if I do that, I'll still be like, so I'm a holograph on a 2D surface? How the fuck does that work? It's like, all right.
And I think it's more complicated for Americans to grasp the idea because, for example, in France, we are exposed to very leftist ideas. Communists aren't demonized here. There's a communist party who runs for the elections and they're normal people. It's not an insult in France. It's normal. They were in the government. Hollande was the Socialist Party. So even if it's just by name, the guy was elected. So in America, you have
America
are more shifted on the right.
We're 60 years removed from the junior senator of Wisconsin, and to this day, communism is still a dirty word.
Communism and socialism is dirty word here.
There are almost no like genuine leftists in prominent political positions. I mean, we consider people like Bernie Sanders to be on the left of our political spectrum, and he is
on the left, but not very far left.
Yeah, exactly. And on the way it's considered in like a European context, he wouldn't be considered a far leftist at all.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
No, it would be the equivalent of Hollande, for example, I think.
Yeah.
So anyway, anyone else got a chance to see the eclipse?
I saw the partial. I didn't go to see the total.
I
take a trip.
To see what?
The solar eclipse.
Oh, that's why there wasn't that thing in France.
I took pictures. I have them ready. I think I can like attempt to screen share and show it to you guys. Are you up for that?
Yeah, sure. I'd love to see the pictures of the eclipse.
Okay, so screen is going to start screen share. Well, one of the things is like I took it with my camera on my cell phone by taking one of the like glasses, cutting it off, and placing it over the camera to work.
Terrific.
MacGyver.
Were you in the totality zone?
Yes, I have I live in the Pacific Northwest.
Cool.
I have a brother that lives in Oregon, so we hang out at his place. And then for the morning of the eclipse, we drove out to Corvallis, where it was in the path of totality. So
awesome.
Cool.
Screen share button now. Minimize that. Okay, can you guys see that?
No.
Don't know how to do this. Okay, there we go. I didn't say this. Okay,
There we go.
There we go. You guys see that? Okay, this is where.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool.
Okay. This is with like the auto settings, so it doesn't look that good. I finally took a while to figure out the auto settings, and there we go. I had to turn the ISO down low, the white balance to like cloudy days, and then the shutter speed diffraction. That's a much bigger.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yes, this is
That's
when
such
it
a
was.
good picture.
Yes, it started at 9, so it was for an hour. So we're just like we're sitting there waiting, fit around with the settings more, and here it is. It's a banana now. The sun's a banana.
A banana.
A banana. What was
Those
also
are basic shots.
Yes. We were noticing, me and my brothers and all the people there at the park, that the green for the grass and the blue for the sky was a different color, dimmer when as the eclipse was happening. And it got cooler too. And also,
everything's so weird.
Yeah, the pinhole effect.
Because it's this whole idea that you're seeing color that you're normally used to seeing at twilight, but it's the short shadows in the middle of the day. So it's like, this looks all wrong. Your brain doesn't like it.
I was watching the coverage on the Discovery Channel, and they were, I want to say they were in Oregon, which was one of the initial sites, and just watching how just the light changed as they approached totality was striking. Yeah. And one other thing I quickly want to throw out is the fact that give it 7 years and we get an eclipse. Hot zigging.
Yeah. Yes. So here in this picture, you just hold up your hand during the eclipse and you see the webbing in between of the sun. That's the pinhole effect. That was just like so cool to discover. Almost there, almost there. People were getting so excited. It got dark enough, as it's just a sliver at that point. It got dark enough. It tripped the lights. The street lights came on. It was like twilight at 10:16 a.m. in Corvallis, Oregon. And then totality.
Oh,
that's so cool. That's such a good picture.
Yes, but believe me, these pictures don't do it justice. You gotta see it in person. It's like
it was amazing.
It's a
Those are so good.
It's a perfect white ring in the sky, and I took a video of it.
Oh,
can you hear that?
No,
that's all right.
No, you have to.
Yeah, we keep seeing other people.
Okay, yeah, I'll keep on talking. Sorry about that. Yeah, people. Can you guys hear that well?
We can hear you.
I can't. We're not getting any audio from the.
Oh, sorry
the
about
eclipse
that.
doesn't make any sound, right?
If I was going to say, you probably aren't going to get any if you're using headphones.
Oh, okay.
There's sounds coming into your headphones and it's not getting distributed.
Okay, sorry about that. I'll stop sharing, but I'll stop sharing now and bring up the. But basically, people were just like really, really excited, and someone let off a firework during the total eclipse, and it only lasted for like a minute and a half or a minute and 16 seconds. So yeah.
Wow, those are so cool. Those are such awesome.
It was fun.
Thanks for sharing.
I drove to Tennessee for the eclipse. It was like a last minute thing. Drove down. We went down Sunday, stopped in Pigeon Forge, which is like, and then Monday morning we drove. We pointed the GPS to Vonore, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. But once we had passed Maryville, we knew like we were in the zone. So just let's find a place to stop now that we're in the zone. And we ended up on this farm. They had a sign, $20 for eclipse parking. So we just parked there, and so everyone was making money off of this. They had the eclipse parking. We saw the eclipse. They served us smoked pork chops afterward, And all the people who were parked around us, I drove 8 hours to get to Tennessee, and all the people from around me were from Frederick, Baltimore, La Plata. So I'm like, what is this, a Maryland convention that I didn't know about?
That's awesome.
Yeah, we were lucky. We found a high school we could park at, and then we went to a park, and we paid no money to see the eclipse. Fortunate for us, but we also had a brother that lived in Oregon, so we didn't have to pay 3 times the hotel rates during the eclipse. So
I managed to find a great rate.
we only got just like we got a partial here. I think it only the closest it got to totality was maybe like 3/4, maybe a little more.
Yeah,
and then it moved back.
But you get the bunny.
Oh, Steve.
Yeah,
about a week. No, actually, it was a couple of weeks before the eclipse happened. We had a guy come in on Atheist Nexus, real total whack job, and he's going about what's going to happen, to all the atheists, because with the path of the eclipse, and this is the only eclipse that's been in the United States in bazillion years, and you just
okay,
totally around the bend, man.
Wow.
And of course, he got bumped, kicked off, within about 48 hours. But it was yet another one of those things that's about good for a laugh, maybe for a little bit at least.
Yeah. I mean,
your jokes are so much entertaining than ours. I'm a little jealous.
It's amazing how often something like an eclipse can happen and people still freak out about it. It's like, but no, you don't have to do that anymore.
In France, Paco Rabanne, the fashion designer, went completely bonkers with the eclipse and the pyramids, and it was in 2000, I think.
Yeah, my brothers got messages like Amber Alert, but it said there's going to be eclipse coming, so beware. And it's they had to warn people that no, we know that this is going to happen. The moon's going to block the sun.
It's just the moon passing in front of the sun for a minute. It's going to be fine.
It's the shadow of the moon on the.
And it's astonishing how they will reach for any kind of event to say, oh dear, unusual thing happening, second coming's right behind it. And if you believe that one, I got this real swell swampland in Florida I'd like to say.
Yeah, I mean, it's like we know this. We know what this is. Just calm down.
They don't even appreciate the beauty of the thing.
Yeah, exactly. It was beautiful. Why do you have to ruin it? Just stand outside and look at
they have to promote their religion.
Yeah, it's a shame. I mean,
their book clearly says that we won't know the hour of day. Why would they be looking for things that are forecastable?
Exactly.
As signs of it.
Oh, ignore that part.
Yeah. That's one of the few. It's almost like the guy who wrote that was trying to help us out. It was trying to be like, no, look, I'll put this little line in where they're not supposed to look for signs of the second coming. It's just going to happen unexpectedly, and they just fucking blow right by it.
We don't know when the sun is going to block the moon, but we know that Easter happens on the first Sunday after the first full moon of spring. And
yeah, my favorite about religious folks talking about eclipses is a lot of Christians who try to account for the story in the Gospels of the 3 hours of darkness surrounding the crucifixion. They'll say, well, that's, people think that's impossible, but, what if it was an eclipse? Well, but we now that we know how the sun moves, we can track its movements not only forwards but backwards, and we can sort of run the tape back scientifically, mathematically, and we know that there were no total solar eclipses visible in that part of the world within a certain period of years where the crucifixion happened or would have happened, and even if they had, none of them lasted anywhere close to 3 hours. And no, that's not it. Sorry.
And it's not just that it didn't last 3 hours. It couldn't last 3 hours.
No, there's no way it would ever last that long.
Maybe it was just super cloudy.
Yeah.
Are you sure it wasn't just overcast?
Yeah. Never mind all the zombies coming out of the ground and wandering about,
that nobody mentioned. Nobody wrote that down.
It's 75 minutes, and that required a Concorde prototype to accomplish.
Yeah.
And here's the thing: what happened to did the zombies go back? You know, did they go to bed afterwards, or did somebody have to bury them again? Or
yeah,
you know,
there are so many just amazing things that happened that nobody else noticed. Yeah,
those people are so bizarre. I mean, you don't need to justify your faith. Faith has nothing to do with reason. Shut up and believe if you want to believe, but shut up.
Yeah. It's like that quote Doug Adams has about, you know, nature is amazing enough as it is. We don't have to go looking for fairies or elves or whatever. I don't remember the exact quote, but that one is premium.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if ever at like a Bible Thunder is like, hey, well, according to this book, I will immediately start calling. Well, see, according to chapter 18 of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, it's a very important fact that that men think that all things are created equal. Mankind builds like war, New York City, and tanks, and that way they think they're better than dolphins. Well, all the dolphins did was fuck out in water in this area, have a good time. And I'm going to immediately say that whenever a Bible Thunder comes to me or at the church or something like that.
It's like the fish.
Yeah, and dolphins almost certainly have better sex than most humans do.
Yeah, so they've got us beat there.
Yeah.
And guilt-free. You never see a dolphin swimming around looking, you know, like, oh, I can't believe I did that last night. Like,
do dolphins know anything about guilt? I tend to think not.
No, dolphins are completely unburdened by our self-recriminations.
They are awful animals.
Yeah. I've heard that they can get violent. They're like, fuck off.
They use rape as punishment for their young. It's awful.
You know, actually, there was a classmate of mine in a writing class I took back when I was in college who sort of opened my eyes to that, because she was like the same way. Like, she was like, you know what, the heck, fuck dolphins. Dolphins are the worst. Like,
screw flipper.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm going to call an end to this revelry because we've had a wonderful hour talking about we started out talking about Thunderbirds. We ended up talking about how rapey dolphins are.
We mentioned butt plugs.
I think we've run the gamut, you know. I did want to mention a couple of things though before I go. First of all, I know Christy was with us earlier. She is having her own hangout, I think starting in about 20 minutes to celebrate her 5,000 subscribers on YouTube, and I'm going to drop in on that one for a little while.
Live, but I will watch it tonight after.
Yeah, so anybody who can make it to that or wants to watch it, check that out on Christy's channel, because that's going to be great. And then also later tonight, starting at 8 p.m. Eastern, the Atheist Manifesto, one of my favorite podcasts, hosted by Callie Wright, is going to be having a special 4-hour live show to raise money for the Foundation Beyond Belief hurricane relief.
That's for AA for me. So
it's you might not be able to listen to it live, but I'll be on it, and Eli Bosnick and Thomas Smith. Where
can we find that?
You post a link to your Facebook?
Yeah, it's on. It's Seth Andrews and Matt Dillahunty and Aaron Raw will be there, and Marissa McCool and Danielle Moscato. A bunch of really cool people are going to be on it.
I like listening to discussions when I paint or work.
But Steve, they're scheduling it right in the middle of the season finale of Game of Thrones.
Well, you know, it was last minute. It was last minute.
Yeah. Excuses.
It's not my show.
You can probably record it, and so you can listen to it later.
Yeah, listen to it later. Exactly. I just show up when I'm told.
Yeah, definitely throw that on your Twitter and Facebook and all that.
Yeah, I'll definitely put a link to it. I posted a link to it last night, but I'll put up another one later today when we're getting closer to it. But so anyway, there you go. Those are 2 things to watch out for. And as always, thanks to all my patrons for the support. I couldn't do it without you. Thanks to all of you for joining me in this show, and for all of your support, whether you're here or not. And if you enjoy what I do on YouTube and you think I'm worth a couple of bucks a month, you can go to patreon.com/Steve Shives to become a patron. And if you feel like it, and you can get in, because usually we're pretty crowded, but you can join me to do one of these.
Hit at 15 minutes before the hangout, then constantly refresh in order to get the link.
Yeah. Come on.
Right.
He's late. Yeah, so there you go. Thanks for watching, everybody.
We're not doing that.
We'll do this again next month. Thanks for watching, everybody.